Today's episode of That's Not Proper may contain explicit language and sensitive content. Hey everyone, thank you for joining me today on That's Not Proper. Today I'm going to be touching down on a subject that many do not like to discuss: rape culture. Rape culture, how we have created it and how we continue to create it. I don't think that there's enough time really in a short podcast to touch down on absolutely every subject and what has been done, what is being done, and what can be done. But I'm hoping that just in hearing some of the things that I have personally learned and seen and experienced, that someone would take something away from this and have an understanding that maybe they did not before, and desire to open up lines of communication so that they can continue to perpetuate a culture that is not a rape culture. Some of the things I'll be covering may be sensitive to some, but again, my hope is not to offend. My hope is to bring about understanding. According to RAIN.org, every 73 seconds, someone in the United States is sexually assaulted or raped. 9 out of 10 of those victims are female. 8 out of 10 rapes are committed by someone known to the victim. In the United States, every year, 60,000 children are sexually assaulted. 433,000 people over the age of 12 are sexually assaulted. And 47% and up to 66% of transgender will be sexually assaulted at some point in their life. So what is rape culture? Rape culture is when a society or an environment whose prevailing social attitudes have the effect of normalizing or trivializing sexual assault and abuse. I feel like that's kind of a very basic definition of it because it's way bigger than that. But the bigger point is, how has it been created and what are we doing to perpetuate that? Recently, I was just scrolling through my news feed on Facebook and came across this post someone had shared, and I about lost all of my shit. What this woman had shared was a flyer her daughter had received, I believe from another friend or something like that. At any rate, it was a flyer from a church activity, and it was going to be a church dance. And in this flyer, it was advising them of things they should or should not do. Mostly the advisement was for little girls. And the advisement was things that they should do or not do, how they should dress so as to not elicit a response from a boy that may not like. In addition to that, at the end of this flyer, it said, in quotations, I believe, in capital letters, "Never say no to a boy when he asks you to dance." It ended with, "A song is only about 3 minutes. It's not that bad." Now, I don't know about you, but this struck a chord. It enraged me, most likely because it brought me back to my childhood, which kind of formed my young adult and womanhood, and it pissed me off. And it was the type of rage, and I can feel it again right now. It was the type of rage where I was dead silent at first. And then I started pacing. And then I felt tears. And then I felt like having a drink or 10 midday, something I never do. I didn't, by the way, but I sure felt like it. And I was pacing and I was angry and I was up and down the stairs and I was telling everybody in the house, "Can you believe this? Can you believe this?" And then I was so enraged. I felt my body just trembling. And then I began the maniacal laughter, that maniacal rage laughter, where this shit ain't funny, but I don't know what else to do with myself right now. And as I was telling the members of my family this, and I posted it on Facebook, I realized that, well, instantly I realized this is rape culture. This is creating rape culture. Oh, and look at the church. The one place where you're supposed to feel safe is creating it. I do not believe the church is the only place that is creating rape culture. But I do know, and this is going to upset people, that there is a very large portion of rape culture comments and thoughts and agendas that are spread very deep within that community. And I can say that because I've experienced it firsthand and for many years. I really wasn't sure if I was going to touch down on the church at all when I decided to do this podcast specifically on rape culture. And I didn't want to do it at first because I didn't want to offend anyone. I didn't want to do it because I didn't want my family to think that I hated my youth. I didn't want my friends that grew up with me in that same circle to think that I hated them or I hated our lives or whatever. That's not what it's about. It's about the awakening. It's about realizing there was some shit that went down that was not okay. And it is still going on. And it's because no one will talk about it. I'm not talking just about the actual sexual assaults that are widespread and have been for decades and are covered up and they're pushed under the rug and they're shoved in a closet and the closet's locked and it's burned down so that nobody knows. I'm not just talking about that stuff. Let me just reel it in a bit. I don't want to get too off topic because like I said, I do not believe the church is the only place. I just know that's where I feel like I can look back on my life and see where it began. When you look into just even the definition of rape culture, you're going to come across a lot of different places that have definitions, and they all are fairly similar. A lot of them, though, seem to put the emphasis on women and the degradation and dehumanization of women, and it's accurate. But I do not believe that men are the only ones creating rape culture. I believe women do it too. I believe that I myself have done things over the course of my life in the raising of my children without consideration and without understanding that have encouraged this idea of creating rape culture. And I come on this podcast and I announce this to the world to say, I did it. I'm admitting it. I'm understanding it now. And so I'm going to say something because it needs to stop. And over my dead body, will I be the one who's helping create this? There are many different examples of rape culture. And I'm actually going to go over them because I don't think people really realize. I myself, again, didn't really realize different things that I do or say or think or believe that contributed to this. And a lot of people are going to be like, oh, Corey, geez, overreacting. No, I'm not overreacting. This is accurate. This is statistically proven. This isn't just based on some whim or my quote unquote hysteria. This is based on fact. Despite the fact that I do not believe that men are the only ones that are contributing to rape culture. 57% of offenders, sexual assault offenders, are white men. And again, 9 out of 10 sexual assault victims are female. The objectification, dehumanization, degradation, and quite frankly, oppression of the marginalized, which includes women, has been going on forever, like the dawn of time. It has been cultivated in such a fashion that it has become normalized, as if we now have been convinced that this is how things are supposed to be. And we've all heard his statements. And I quote, I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. Just kiss. I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Grab them by the pussy. You can do anything. That's the elected president of the United States. It amazes me. A large portion of the United States chose that man and is actually okay with him saying those things. It's funny because I wonder if those people that hear those things and are okay with it would actually be okay with it if it was their daughter he was referring to. Would they be okay with it if they were standing there next to their daughter, next to their mother, their sister, their aunt, or whatever, and he was talking about how he was going to grab their pussy? Would they be okay with it then, or would they be offended by it? It's amazing to me that a large portion of the quote-unquote Christian community excuses this behavior. He doesn't apologize for that stuff. When I hear stuff like, oh, but he asked for forgiveness, how the fuck do you know? When Brock Turner's father found out about his sentencing or possibility of sentencing, I believe it was, he said that it was a pretty steep price to pay for 20 minutes of action. Later on, the judge, Aaron Persky, I believe is his name, then sentenced Brock Turner to 6 months and he got out in 3. He's a rapist. A rapist. An African-American woman was just recently sentenced to 5 years in prison for voting illegally. 5 years. She gets 5 years in prison, and Brock Turner serves 3 months for raping a woman. And these are just a couple examples of pretty big things that we've heard in the news that some of us have been outraged at, or maybe not at all, for some time now. But I use them as examples because that's how it is. That's the normalization of all of this. That's okay. Someone believes, and not just someone, I shouldn't even say that. Lots of people believe, oh, it's not that big a deal. It's not really going on. It is going on, and it is going on everywhere. I could probably sit here for a really long time with this. I have this notebook, you can hear it, of lists I've made with regards to things that are examples of rape culture. I'm not going to do that to everybody, but I am going to touch down on a couple of them that are pretty prevalent in our society and really have been around for a long, long time. One of them is the boys will be boys thing. So I don't know what that means. I have 3 daughters and 4 sons. And, to be fair, I've said things like, okay, my 4 boys growing up, they were like, I used to refer to them as caged animals, like in the winter. And they had to get outside and they had to get dirty and they had to get rough. And without any poking or prodding or anything like that, my boys were, ready to pick up things and chuck them and throw them, and in a way that my daughters were not. That's not what I mean by boys will be boys. I have never once, with all 4 of my sons, ever thought, oh, boys will be boys, so it's okay if they objectify women. It's okay if they degrade another human being based on their physical appearance or sexual choices. It's okay for them to make sick jokes that put a woman in a position to where she's uncomfortable, to where she feels like she has to cover up, to where she's not sure of her surroundings and she feels unsafe. There's never been a time where that would have been okay with me. Quite frankly, had I known, I'd probably whoop on my boys a little bit. Another one that makes me bonkers is not calling sexual assault and rape. We do things, and you'll see it in the media even, and they refer to it as non-consensual sex. Oh, what kind of moron doesn't realize that that's actually rape? In fact, it takes longer to write that out. Write down rape. Call it what it is. It is rape. There's no way to beautify it. It is sexual assault. That's what you say. When someone touches another person in a manner that is sexual and they don't want to be touched, you have sexually assaulted them. If you have penetrated them in any way, even just a tiny little bit, with an object, with your finger, with your penis, rape. That's what it is. Don't try and beautify it because it ain't pretty. And here's a big one. Attire. Blaming a person, usually females, for being raped on their appearance, their clothing, the way they speak. None of those things make it okay to rape someone or sexually assault someone. I will guarantee you there is no one who is requesting to be sexually assaulted or raped just because they have a short skirt on, just because maybe their boobs are hanging out a little bit. That does not mean you get to touch it. It ain't yours. That is rape. That is sexual assault. Quit blaming attire. People are raped. Their clothes are not raped. Masculinity and sexual dominance, by the way, do not go hand in hand. Sexually dominating someone that does not want to be sexually dominated by another person, okay, that's assault and or rape. And in addition to that, it does not make you masculine. It makes you weak. It makes you a coward. It makes you an asshole. Earlier, I had said that I don't believe that men are the only ones creating rape culture, because I don't. I think all of the things that I just listed are things that I've heard women say and do. There's this one thing, and I know this is not going to be a fan favorite. The word bitch. Now, here's the thing. There was a time, maybe this makes me old, but when referring to someone as a bitch was bad, negative, and not liked at all. The term comes from an old word that means female dog. In fact, it's still used for dogs. And here's my thing. And this is why I feel like this is a contribution, ladies. You're not going to like this. Don't call me a bitch. And I mean that in the way that people are trying to make it like it's friendly now. These are my bitches. No, I am not your bitch. I am not a dog. I do not lay down on the ground and eat from a bowl and shit out in the backyard. I can be your friend, but I am not a bitch. And I am not one of your bitches. Stop saying that to each other because it sounds foolish. It dehumanizes you. It dehumanizes other women. It makes it sound as though we like that. We like being called a dog. No. And don't tell me about, how it's taken back the word. No, it ain't. It is not. Stop saying it. Uplift each other in ways with words that actually have true meaning. You know what I mean? I don't understand that word. Sorry if that upsets anyone. But to me, that encourages this idea of dehumanizing another, degrading them, oppressing them, making them less than human, which is a contribution to rape culture. Defense of celebrities, people who are in positions of power or in positions of authority, don't do that. There is no defense. There is never a defense for raping someone or sexually assaulting someone. There is never a defense. There literally is actually no defense. Believe a victim first. Why does a victim have to prove themselves, but the offender not? The percentages of rapes and sexual assaults that are false accusations, because yeah, it does happen, but the percentage is 2 to 8%, which in the grand scheme of things is a minute amount. So what does this all mean? What do we do now? This is what we do. We talk about it. We open up the forum. We don't hide it anymore. We don't shove it under a rug. We don't make excuses. We pay attention and consider the things that we say and do. We make sure we are lifting another human being, not putting them down. And when we see it being done, we come to their aid. Are the things that I'm saying making you mad? Are they making the hairs on the back of your neck stand up in anger and agitation at me? Good. It should. Get up. Get angry, make a difference, say something, open the forum, communicate, understand this is going on. Take off your blinders, wake up, and make a difference. Show your children what is right. Communicate with one another. Stand up for that coworker or for that friend or for that woman you see on the street. Recently, I was told, you're a leftist. You're a Democrat. Funny thing is, I actually am not. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I pretty much just choose to be a human being and to treat everybody else as such. At least that's my desire. Do I have a long ways to go as far as understanding? Oh, sure. Do I have a lot to learn? Oh, heck yeah. You'd be amazed how much I learned with just this. The thing is, I choose not to be politically defined, nor define myself, because I choose love. justice, freedom, truth. If my truth offends, then it's not my political stance that offends you. It's my freedom, and I don't care. I truly appreciate you listening in today, for taking time out of your day to listen to me. I truly appreciate it. Today was a rough one. I understand that, but I think that it's important. I think that we need to discuss it, and I think we can no longer just sit and pretend like this is how things are supposed to be. I would encourage you to comment, to like, to share, subscribe. That's Not Proper. And go ahead and take a look at my Instagram and my Facebook. That's Not Proper. Or email me. That's Not Proper Corey@gmail.com. And I would love to hear your comments and feedback. And if you have any questions or any topics that you would like for me to discuss, I'd love to hear from you. Educating ourselves on these topics are really, really important. And that's how I find out the things that I need to find out. I am a digger by nature, so I dig when I want to find out about something. And it's important that we do that too. We all have handheld devices or computers or have access to them. Please educate yourself on these topics. Find out what's really going on. Don't just pay attention to little bits of social media here and there, just your typical news outlets. Look and dig. I would also encourage people to go ahead and take a look at rain.org. RAINN.org. A lot of statistics that I got today, that is where I found them. There are a plethora of information with regards to rape, sexual assault, and incest. They have hotlines, they have information. They have been an absolutely wonderful organization that is directed towards this topic specifically. And thank you again for listening to today's episode of That's Not Proper.